Now, protests are continuing in Cairo despite new promises from Egypt's embattled government. The country's new cabinet has met for the first time. It launched investigations into corruption and electoral fraud, as well as announcing a 15% wage hike for government workers. Well, for more now on how Egypt's economy is holding together in the face of ongoing uncertainty, I'm joined now by Anne Wyman of Nomura. Anne is the bank's European head of emerging market research. She's just returned to the UK from Tunisia on Sunday, and she joins me now. Thanks very much indeed for coming to talk to us. Now, you were just telling me that you spend a lot of time in Tunisia, and indeed you were there during the revolution. You've just come back. How is it at the moment? Is there a feeling of calm there, and is there a sense of what's going to happen next?
It is quite a bit calmer than, obviously, during the revolution weekend. Life is getting back to normal. Kids are back in school, businesses are open, banks are functioning, the equity market is open. And I would say there's a lot of optimism on the streets there about new opportunities for democracy. At the same time, there's a bit of nervousness, certainly about the future for tourism and some of the other economic activities that will certainly take a downturn in the wake of the events. But I would say, by and large, the feeling is one of optimism.
And is there any certainty yet there about what the shape of the new government might be?
Well, we've got an interim government at this stage, which is made up of quite a number of very capable technocrats. And I think there's a confidence that this will be an important segue to a new government. Obviously, there's a lot still to be seen when new elections are actually held and what that will bring. But in the meantime, I think there's a general feeling of good stewardship and strong leadership, at least to get us through the interim period.
Now, foreign direct investment, of course, is very important, not just in Tunisia, also in Egypt and elsewhere. There was a lot of nervousness from foreign investors. How long do you think that takes to go away? Is there any sense of how damaging something like this event is longer term?
Yeah, it's very hard to gauge in numbers. In the case of Tunisia, what I would say is there are quite a number of foreign companies that have stuck it out, even through the revolution, and are still there and are not planning to pull out. But certainly the prospects for new foreign direct investment are damaged by these political events. In the case of Tunisia, the sooner they can kind of get a new government in place and get going and reassure people that the security situation is quite safe, they'll be in better shape. In the case of Egypt, it's a little bit harder because we're still in the midst of a political transition. The security situation hasn't been reassured, and there's lots of uncertainty about what a new government will look like. So I think in the case of Egypt, it may take a bit longer. We'll need to see some political resolution.
Indeed. Now, in Egypt at the moment, we have seen the credit risk is falling. Is there a sense that the protests are dwindling?
I think there's a sense of calm for the moment, but still nervousness. We haven't, in the end, seen what the protesters have really demanded, which is the immediate removal of Mubarak.
Yes.
And without that, I think there's still going to be an underlying tension there. For right now, it feels a bit like a standoff, and we'll have to see whether the protesters regain steam, asking for what they've asked for from the beginning, which is an immediate change in government. At the same time, foreign investors, of course, want to see a smooth transition. So there's a bit of a mixed bag in terms of what would be the best outcome for markets.
Indeed. And Egypt has launched some populist measures in this newish cabinet that it's put together, such as wage increases, quite significant wage increases for government workers. Now, that does have an impact, doesn't it, when in a country that is trying to get its deficit down?
Yes, I think there's important questions that will be asked going forward about Egypt's fiscal finances. Starting out this crisis, they were already at a fiscal deficit of above 8% of GDP, which was a challenge to begin with. If you add to that additional measures to raise wages, and also the hit that they will likely take on the tax side from fewer tax receipts, you're going to have a lot of fiscal challenges that face them going forward.
They pledged to get the deficit down to 3%. That's not going to happen in this current scenario.
I'm afraid not. I'm afraid it's going to take quite some time before we get there, and it's going to take some very tough measures to reach that. So I think it's going to take some time.
Okay, and thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Thank you.